Hello, everyone. Welcome to Focus Friday. Today, I'm going to talk about matrix mode, custom mode, advanced search, and then all of it together. So pretty high level, but showing you how you can use them all together. So I'll be using the sales stock and purchasing database that I have. The first thing we're going to go over is matrix mode. And if you are unfamiliar with matrix mode, the trick to this is selecting at least one thing in order to get this button to appear. So if you hover over matrix and you're not able to click it, you have to at least select one thing in order for it to show up. So I always like to start with that because a lot of people have that question right at the beginning. So matrix mode can be used a lot of different ways. But what it does is it takes something from being a row and puts it as a column. If you have something like I have selected now, like customer, where we have 1,700, over 1,700 options, we don't want a matrix X. That's going to be a really long report. So the first example is I'm going to show you how we can look at customers who are purchasing certain subclasses and classes of products for the year-to-date time period. So I'm going to leave it as year-to-date. I'm going to start with my product subclass, and I'm going to choose, I'm actually going to sort this first. I'm going to choose dimmers and LT lighting. So I've highlighted both of those, and now I'm going to hit the matrix button. If I leave it on the dimension, it's going to show it on the left-hand side and also at the top. So the next thing I'm going to do is choose the product class. And I'm going to choose controls and illumination. And actually, I'm going to go back. Sorry, I'm going to redo this. We're going to do dimmers and LT and focus on those product subclasses. And then for the product class, I'm going to do controls and illumination and then matrix those. So now I have the controls and illumination here at the top under that product subclass still. So from here, you can see that controls and illumination are on the left-hand side and on the top. So in order to make this a more valuable report, I'm now going to go to look at our customers. And by doing that, it's showing me all of my customers for the year-to-date time period who have purchased something in the controls and illumination categories. But also filtered down on the product subclasses or product class subclasses. Yes, sorry. So from here, this is where you can now drill into the data even more. So if I wanted to see customers who are purchasing controls but not purchasing illumination, I can do that here by adding in the advanced search option. And instead of going to advanced search here to start doing those filtering, to do the filtering, you can actually just right click. So for the controls, I want to see all the customers for year to date who have purchased controls, but have not purchased illumination that goes with it. So, excuse me. So you can do this, of course, with any of your product classes or categories or product types that make sense to go together. You can even go as far as to look at it by product. If you want to see by a specific product, if they're purchasing this, but not this, then you can drill into that just by doing the same thing with products. So from here in the controls, I want to see they have purchased this, have not purchased this. So in this column, somewhere in controls, I'm going to right click and say, show me anything that's greater than 0. Because it's going to show me sales dollars that are greater than 0. So that means they have purchased controls in the last year to date or this year to date. For illumination, I'm going to right click and say equals 0. So now we're looking at by customer, the controls that they purchased, but not illumination. So this is an opportunity to reach out and tell the customers, hey, I noticed that you're purchasing this, but you're not purchasing this. Do you want to place an order? We have it in stock. Or is it because you found it somewhere else? Is it because it's too expensive here? Did you even know that we sold it? And so on. So it gives you that opportunity to have a data-driven discussion with your customers. So from here, this is maybe something that you already know how to do already. But if not, I do want to mention that if you go to advanced search now, after you've done the right click, you can then see that it's done this calculation for you. Right now, it's showing me January 2023 to October 2023. If I click on this and go to period, you'll see that it has that hard date set as January to October. If you're familiar with Phocas, you'll know that that year-to-date time period that I selected in the beginning is actually a rolling or dynamic time period, meaning when we move into January of 2024, it will automatically change. When you're using advanced search, it's very important to check right here after you've done that, because it usually goes static. So if you just click offset, or better yet, if you choose year to date in the time period, then next year when we roll into January, it's going to show year to date as well. So same thing here, choose year to date and apply. So now it will be dynamic. You never have to change this report ever again. You can keep it even for next year and then hit apply. All right. And from here, this is where I'm going to show you how to add in the nest feature. So with the nest feature, this becomes a pivot table. So you can combine nest and matrix together. For example, if you wanted to see something like the salespeople who are assigned to each of these customers, you can click the nest button, which is this plus minus here at the top, and just simply drag sales rep to the level. So now you're combining matrix and nest. So now we can see the sales rep here. If we open this up, we can see their customers. So one thing that actually ties into a trick that I learned not too long ago, I'm kind of embarrassed to say I didn't know this before, but a few months ago, I learned that you can go back to the grid from nest. Whenever I was in the nest feature, I would always try to click it and it would never go back to normal. I would always have to reset or do a back browser tab. So instead, if you want to keep all of the matrix things that you've done, for example, maybe I want to switch this to see the customer here and then sales rep underneath it instead of the way that it is now. Instead of having to redo this whole thing or going back, I can actually just click on the grid button again. And it takes me right back to where I was. And I cannot believe I didn't know that until a few months ago. So I hope that helps someone, because it really helped me. So now instead of nesting with you highlighted on the customer dimension, we're going to just highlight sales rep. And then we're going to click the plus minus to nest and then drag the customer up here. And one trick with nest, you'll see that if I cover this, it doesn't stick. If you drag it and hover till the drag here box turns gray, it always works. One little extra trick for you on there. So now we're looking at the customers who have purchase controls, but not illumination. And you can see it. If we open it up, you can see who the sales rep is. And you can also move this around too. That's a newer feature. So you can move that around so you have a little bit more, you use the space a little bit better. You can also expand everything or collapse everything, so you don't have to do it one by one. So that is combining matrix and nest together. All right, so I'm going to I'm going to go back to the grid and I'm going to X out of that customer one. One thing I wanted to show you that I think is really helpful, if you wanted to select a bunch of customers, you went through and whoops, I selected the wrong one. Instead of having to reset or to go through and unclick or click and drag, you can also just select all and it gets rid of everything. So this little black triangle selects every line that you have available. So all 819, if I don't have any selected, but if you have a ton selected, you can just hit that black triangle and it goes away, which is really a time saver. All right, so now matrix variance is what else I wanted to show you. So if you wanted to look at the same report but as a variance in matrix mode, you can. So variance mode allows you to look at this time period compared to previous. So for my year-to-date time period, whatever I have as my previous, so I'll just show you on this one that I made. So my year-to-date is January, most recent in this month. And good thing I looked at this because for some reason, this says June, which we don't want. So I'm actually going to change this to January. And it's going to be second most recent. And October of 2022. So it matches. And then click offset. So now for my year-to-date time period, this previous period is going to be what the variance looks at for comparison. So then I'm going to hit save and apply. And then when I go into the mode dropdown, I can do a matrix variance, which will put it into variance mode with it still matrix, which is really nice because then you can see the comparisons there. From here, you can also do something called matrix share. So when you have the mode dropdown, if you don't see matrix of any sort, it's because you haven't matrixed anything yet. So if you do your mode dropdown when you have just a normal setting without matrix, you won't see any of these. So this is when you get to see matrix share. So matrix share will show you of the two columns, or two or more, I should say two. You can have more than two. So of those two columns, it's telling me that the customer is buying for year to date is buying. Oh, I'm going to go get rid of these. Oh, maybe it did get rid of it. There we go. Okay. So what it's doing is it's showing me the percentage of each of these that they're purchasing. So for example, if you wanted, instead of looking at if they bought this or didn't buy it, if you wanted to say, okay, if they're buying 25% controls and 75% illumination, that's good. Otherwise, I want to look at it and drill into looking at those customers that maybe have a 50-50 split or something other than that, like this 0 and 100. So you can go through these. The only thing that I don't know if there's a way to do this. I definitely haven't figured it out if there is. So I know Brenna joined us. If she knows, then she can let us know. But you can't right click to advanced search this and filter through. So you have to kind of just click through. So if you wanted to go back to this one, this is where you could highlight a bunch of them and exclude them, but that's a huge pain in the neck. So I thought there was a way to sort these other than just sorting this way, but there's not that I know of. So I thought you could right click and do the advanced search, but you can't in this one. But this one does give you an idea of the percentage share of each thing. So that's matrix share. Matrix custom. Now I'm going to go back to just normal matrix. And this is where we're going to combine matrix mode and custom mode. So with custom mode, if you're unfamiliar with it, custom mode really allows you to customize your columns, pull in different data from different streams, pull in different measures from different streams or different measures from the same database for a different time period, all sorts of things. So with matrix and custom combined, there's a couple ways that I'll show you today that you can use it, and then just you'll at least get the idea, and you can probably come up with a lot of ideas on your own from here. I really like to see controls and illumination, but I really do not want to see this total column. It's kind of a pain. So if I go to the settings wheel, I can hide total, but that only hides it from that row. It still doesn't get rid of this column. So if I go to the mode dropdown and select custom, I can just get rid of total and then click apply. And now I still have that matrix look where I have controls and illumination, but I've gotten rid of the total column. Another thing that I think is really cool is I'm going to go back to our search here where I'm going to say they purchase controls, so greater than 0. And illumination equals 0. And one thing I want to mention always is that if you right click in the gray, it doesn't give you those options. It has to be in the white part of this column. So controls is greater than 0, and then illumination is equals 0. And one more thing before we jump into custom from here, I want to mention is that with your right click feature, if you're in, let's say you're in this line here that says 800, you'll right click and it'll say, okay, so you want it to be greater than 800 or 0. Those are the only two options they give you. And that's just to get you started, because once you go to advanced search here, once you've already done your right clicks, you can then customize. So you can say, I want it to be at least greater than $200 because I don't really care if it's less than that, and then click apply. So you can really customize your advanced search. Again, it's the magnifying glass, and then you can type in whatever number you want. And this is also where you want to change that time period. Okay, now we're all set. And going back into custom mode, I want to add one more column that shows me where did they purchase illumination at all last year, because this is just looking at year to date. But I do want to see if they purchased even before that. I can go back to custom mode, and I'm just going to copy illumination. It's the easiest way to do it. And I'm going to say, show me this for 2022. I'm going to change this by clicking on this box right here, because this is where you change the date. Go to period. And I'm going to do custom year. And I'm going to say 2022. Okay, and click apply and apply. So now it's going to show me any of the sales from 2022. So I can also see that these customers here haven't purchased in 2022 either, but they did purchase a little. These ones purchased a little in 2022 and so on. So you can just really customize after you've matrixed, which I think is really helpful. Another trick actually in custom mode that I want to show you now is this looks great. This is going to roll because this is going to be year to date because I made it rolling. This is going to be year to date rolling, but this one that I've added now is illumination 2022. And if we roll into January of 2024 and still want this report, this is going to show me from 2 years ago. So what I'd rather do is I'd rather have this rolling as well. So I can go here and say offset to last year. So it will automatically roll, and that's great. However, if we do that and leave it like this, when we move, this is going to still say 2022. So there is an option to call it last year, but I think I'd rather it say 2022. So what you can do is you can do squiggly bracket, T date, squiggly bracket. And I'm sure there's a more technical name for squiggly bracket, but that's what I'm going to call it. So if you do this, it will automatically tell you what this is. So then you can hit apply, and it doesn't really show you much here because we left it as 2022. But if I change this and say 2 years ago, so it's 2021, hit apply, still leaving it as T date, hit apply, and boom, 2021 automatically. So that T date function works for anything that you want to do. So if you wanted to just do something like a sales for, let's do previous month. It'll tell you what that is. All right. So that is all I have to share today. Thank you guys so much for joining. I hope you have a fabulous weekend, and I'll see you next week.